Hi, this is Ivan Illan, Chief Investment Officer at AWAME, Aligned Wealth Advisors Investment Management. I wanted to share with you some of our recent insights. And what you see behind me in this chart is going back to November of 2022 and all the way through today's market close, the US dollar index. And what you see here is about a 5% decline in the US dollar during that period of time. In November of last year, I wrote an article regarding the US dollar that was published in Forbes. You can link to it at our website. And basically the idea was that given a variety of factors, chief amongst them debt loads of the U.S. Treasury and U.S. government in general, as well as U.S. corporate debt, is just such a colossus and such a big issue that so many, obviously, corporations as well as the U.S. government is going to have to deal with refinancing costs, as a lot of this debt is coming due. This year, next year, the year after next. And many of the other economies in the world are not so laden with debt, not so saturated with debt. And there's a lot of ratios that we use and reference to figure out which economies or countries are more overrun or overburdened by debt. And the U.S. has really one of the more severe ratios when it comes to the GDP versus its debt. And Europe is a bit better. Other nations around the world, including Asia, are doing better. Regions of the world are doing better. And some others are doing worse, like in South America. There's a couple that come to mind that you may be hearing about in the news lately. So this is a trend that we think will persist for a little while longer, which means having diversification in non-US denominated assets, whether those are US equities or US fixed income, to make sure you have diversity away from those US dollar denominated assets. As this trend may persist for some time. And certainly we're prepared for that in our portfolios accordingly. And of course, remember that this comes on the back of about a 3-year period where the US dollar essentially surged about 30% appreciation relative to other currencies. So to have this kind of retracement or mean reversion, where now the US dollar will once again settle into a weaker position relative to the euro and the pound, is quite normal and cyclical in nature. And related to the article that I just referenced earlier, many of these countries that recently saw almost parity with the dollar, like the Eurozone, for example, you saw €1 to $1 as recently as last November. Now that's about 110 to $1. Same thing with the UK sterling to dollar. That was very near parity, and now we're seeing it closer to 125 again. So these currency movements certainly have implications for your for your holdings in equities in the United States, but also your international equity holdings. So all things being equal, if the dollar is losing value, but you own companies, the shares of companies in the Eurozone, for example, then you're automatically going to get an appreciation of those non-US dollar denominated assets, just because the currency is moving against the dollar. And so that's a positive thing for diversification, and something certainly our clients are reminded of, that we do have quite an overweight of a position with non-US equities. And that is very intentional, given this forecast of ours and our outlook that this is a trend. Now, we're not alarmist in any way. We don't believe that you're going to see a complete devaluation of the dollar. There's quite a lot of talk out there in the marketplace about how the dollar is just going to be eviscerated and totally disappear. We don't think that is the case at all. The dollar is still the dominant global currency reserve when it comes to global trade. But there are major threats to its dominance, and most of which is being led by China. And really they are building a coalition with other economies like Russia and India and Brazil in order to dethrone the dollar's dominance. So again, we don't think this is any an Armageddon moment for the dollar, and even though there's quite a bit of that out there and that kind of talk that's out there, the dollar still has a major role to play in global trade and will for quite some time. However, it is very important to realize that there are cyclical trends in the currency markets, and those have implications for the kinds of equities and assets that you may own in these different currencies. So just something to keep in mind as you analyze your portfolio or have your financial advisor explain to you exactly what are your non-US denominated exposures and whether that is an appropriate amount or not. Thanks so much. Give us a call anytime at 310-795-0622 or visit us at www.alignwealth.com. That's ALIGNE wealth.com. Thank you so much.